Welcome back inside the building. Barclays Center on the FanDuel Sportsbook Nets pregame show. As promised, Michael Scotto, senior NBA insider from Hoops Hype, joins us. Talk a little NBA free agency. I know the season isn't really over yet, but it's going to be a little wild with the free agency. And since they're in the building, sure, Sacramento Kings, they have some decisions to make.
Yeah, Chris, you hit it on the head. Sacramento's going to have a busy offseason coming up. We'll start with Zach LaVine, who's got a $49 million player option. I'm told that he's going to end up exercising that option. So, you know, for Sacramento, you're going to have him on the books for another year of $49 million. He's certainly a trade candidate. They listened to offers before the trade deadline. They're going to circle back on that again over the summer. You got Domantas Sabonis, who we spoke right here on this desk, and I talked to you about the Toronto Raptors. They were heavily involved for him. He'll be another name that comes up. DeMar DeRozan, who's been one of the great all-time scorers in the NBA, is going to play today. And DeMar is going to have a partially guaranteed deal at $10 million. 1 more year left. Yet another guy that's going to be on the block. Also, last but not least, you're going to have Malik Monk. Malik Monk is a super scorer off the bench. Him and DeMar, if you're looking for offense, you're going to call the Kings looking to try to get those guys.
All right, well, let's move on. We gave the Kings their props because they're here today, but a team that isn't here, the Milwaukee Bucks, sure, and a name that's probably the biggest name that's going to be talked about and thrown around this summer, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So how do you see all of this shaking out with Giannis?
Chris, he's got 275 million reasons to stay in Milwaukee, because that's how much they could pay him. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be on the table for him once they're allowed to do so. However, he's been unhappy, obviously, with the trajectory of this team to this point. They've struggled ever since they made the finals. They've kind of taken steps back little by little. Now looking ahead for Milwaukee, he could be the domino. If you end up trading Giannis, you can open up a whole Pandora's box. You then can be talking about Bobby Portis. You could be talking about Miles Turner even potentially as well. Kyle Kuzma's been another name that they've dangled because of his salary as well. A lot of potential moving parts in Milwaukee. And by the way, Doc Rivers, we don't know for sure if he's coming back next year either. There's going to be a lot of coaching turnover, which we could talk about another day. But the Milwaukee Bucks are going to have an active offseason, unquestionably. And the biggest domino, as you touched on, not only for Milwaukee, but for the entire NBA, is going to be Giannis. We're finally going to get an answer to whether he wants to stay or go.
And he's the biggest name. So let me ask you one follow-up on this guy. Because in order to move him, the Bucks, if they do that, I'm not going out on a weak branch here, Michael. They're starting over. So they need to get picks and young players back to get him off the team.
100%. But here's the variable that you have to factor into this, Chris. Where he is in his contract, he's going to have a say-so. Because no team is going to give up all those picks that you talked about that Milwaukee's going to want unless you know that you're locking him up. So he's going to have more say now than he would have if they made a trade at the deadline previously. But again, you're going to have Miami. You're going to have the Golden State Warriors. I'm sure depending on what happens with the New York Knicks in the playoffs, that could be a scenario. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they've got a really young star in Evan Mobley. They could dangle to make an offer too. There's going to be a lot of suitors for Giannis. Ultimately, that's a transformational player. The picks are going to be there, but I just think for him, he's got to decide. Do you want the $275 million, or do you want to try to go to a better situation and win? And he just saw it, by the way, with Damian Lillard. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
So it's either going to be Giannis saying to the Bucks, "King me,"
pretty much,
or the chess pieces are going to start to move around the board. Let's move on here. The next team we have to talk about, and another big-name player who's dealt with injuries this season, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies.
You touched on Ja Morant. This was the first time in his tenure with the Memphis Grizzlies that their general manager, Zach LaVine, was open to listening to trade offers for Ja Morant. Ironically, the Milwaukee Bucks, who we just touched on, were one of those teams who circled the wagon on him, trying to look for help with Giannis. Although ideally, he's not primarily going to be a guy that you want to put with a ball-dominant guard because Giannis has the ball so much. So that's one reason why that didn't happen. But for Ja Morant, you're talking about a guy, when he's healthy, that is a dynamic player. The last couple of years, his drives have been down. But again, when he's healthy, he's a dynamic force. Another guy for Memphis that you could look at is shooting guard Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's got a $21.6 million player option, which I'm told he's going to ultimately end up picking up. And he'll be in the final year of his contract. So that's another guard for Memphis that they could shuffle the deck with a little bit now. Hopefully you're keeping all of these under your hat for a couple of months when they come to fruition, but you're getting a little bit of a preview now.
Yeah, if we had those $20 million player options, we'd be picking them up as well. All right, we have one more team to talk about who has some interesting pieces that have to be talked about. That's the Denver Nuggets. Both Cam Johnson, former Net, and also Peyton Watson.
Well, Chris, you bring up both of these guys. Now, Peyton Watson is going to be one of the top restricted free agents, a young guy who's really burst onto the scene, having a career year. I've had plenty of conversations with Denver throughout the season. They want to keep this guy. He's gotten a lot of trade interest that's been rebuffed. Now, with that said, how does that affect Cam Johnson? Our old friend here in Brooklyn is a really good stretch four, but for Denver, they're going to have to worry about looking at these extensions. You got Jokic, you got Murray, you got Aaron Gordon. You got to fit these guys under the aprons. They're going to be pretty close to the second apron. The way that they can stay below that and ensure more flexibility for the roster is potentially looking at the market and seeing if there's a fit with a Cam Johnson trade. It doesn't, so that's something you're going to have to keep an eye on for Denver. This is what happens in the new CBA when you have a lot of talented players that are high salaries. You got to make the books work. So our old friend Cam Johnson could be on the move again this summer for Denver because, again, Peyton Watson's going to be a guy they want to lock up for sure. Younger guy on the rise, going to get paid big bucks this summer without a question.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. As always great having you on this desk with me. I know Isola has some issues with it, but he's going to have to deal. I know he's at home watching.
Uncle Frank is all right. We'll wish him an early Bona Pasqua for a happy Easter coming up.
There you
Love
go.
Frank.
Frank, we miss you, Paisan. We're going to step aside, take another break here. Once again, we thank Michael Scotto, senior NBA insider at Hoops Hype, for joining us here. When we come back, we'll continue to get you ready for the Kings and Nets here at Barclays Center.